Hello, folks. This is Bob Safel. I want to thank you for attending our webinar tonight, our Thursday night webinar, as we finally get through the holidays period and get things rocking and rolling again. Things are flying along many fronts for us. We have a special briefing. This is part 2 of our description of the next generation digital currency. We have news that we want to talk about first, and then after that we have a very interesting special announcement that affects and can affect or could affect many people in many areas of life, and certainly it's going to have a huge impact, certainly in the area of digital frontier marketing, Celebrium, Rate-A-Tech, CloudCoin, you name it, it's going to happen. I can tell you that. That's the news that's going to follow our part 2 of explaining exactly what the pain points are that Rate-A-Tech solves. And I think we have big response from our last briefing, last webinar on Thursday night. But before I get started, I want to make sure, Sean, can you hear me? You want to say hi to everybody? We have Sean Worthington here, the founder of CloudCoin and the chairman of Rate-A-Tech.
Hi, Bob. How you doing? I'm here.
Okay, great. Let me see. Yeah, I think we can hear you clearly. Now, what I'm going to do real quick, Sean, is I'm going to check to make sure everybody hears us. Without them hearing us, we're in trouble. Okay, folks, so here's how I do it. You have your little hand up in the right-hand corner. You'll see a hand. I'd like you to click on and off that hand just to make sure you can hear me clearly. Here we go. And I also want to remind people we are recording this, and it goes out to thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers who are all over the world and love to hear our webinars. So it looks like we have good sound. Sean, you have a little bit of static coming out from your side, a little bit, tad bit. But
I think it might be that when I move my head, maybe it is rubbing against my collar. So maybe if I stop doing that, it'll be okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit better. It's still a little bit static there. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing, yeah, it's pretty loud there, Sean. That's static. Wonder if you want to try to come back in, or
Well, I just muted my mic. Maybe if I mute my mic and you still hear it, then we'll know it's a problem.
Now that sounds a little better. Whatever you did there.
Okay.
Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And just a reminder. We do these webinars, in fact, to provide brand new news that's happening, news about technology, news about trends. We're trying to give you what's happening in this digital currency environment, this crypto coin environment, and go from there. Sean, I think the static is still a little bit of a problem. So maybe what you want to do is jump off and jump on. Maybe disconnect and connect back. I don't know, or maybe not. I don't want to lose.
Sure, I can do that.
Right back. That sounds good. Whatever you're doing there, it seems to work better. So, anyway, okay, folks. So, as I was saying, we want to talk about the trends that are happening in the cryptocurrency world. We want to talk about digital currency, what's happening there, business. How are companies applying digital currency? How are they applying cryptocurrency? What's happening with the blockchain world? So we try to cover all of these issues. And I've been talking about a trend that's been happening now for about 8 weeks that I think is a heck of a good trend. And I want to refer to this. Now the European Banking Authority report urges steady approach to cryptocurrency regulation. Now, I've been saying for some time that the huge investment funds, like the big pension funds, the big hedge funds, they have certain rules they have to abide by before they can actually put money into companies any type of company, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's the healthcare industry, whether it's food, entertainment, doesn't matter. They have certain guidelines that they've got to live by before they can actually put money or invest money into things. And part of it is that the industry has some type of regulatory coverage. They want to make sure if they're going to put billions of dollars into a company or hundreds of millions, that there is some type of regulatory environment that isn't onerous, that isn't threatening, that isn't, destructive, but that at a minimum makes sure that companies are, rogue companies out there aren't causing trouble and stirring up trouble. That's actually not a bad thing in my viewpoint. It's only when it gets onerous, when governments get a little too far ahead of the curve, you know what I'm saying? That's when it's a problem. And I've been telling you that we're seeing this trend right now of different large countries, continents that are now, they're not killing cryptocurrency. They're not banning cryptocurrency. They're not doing silly things like that. But what they are doing is they're taking kind of a go slow approach to slowly but surely put in regulations that make sense. And as I've also said, the politicians want to have the regulatory, kind of a regulatory safety net before they go in and start applying certain taxes, because they don't want to tax certain things, because that's when you know something's here to stay, when they're going to tax things. That's when you know you're good. That's when that industry is safe. When the government start making money, then you're really good. Okay, like I'm not here to cheerlead online gambling, but the fact is, online gambling is now legal across the United States. Once again, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just making a statement that online gambling was illegal for decades until the government figured out, well, how are we going to make money from it? Once that happened, bing, bam, boom, it's now legal across the entire country. Same thing's happening now across the world in terms of the regulatory safety net being put in place before the politicians can start, getting their hooks into things, getting some tax money. They won't do the tax gig until they can say to their voters, oh, well, listen, we didn't start taxing until we made sure that this is a safe environment to play in. So now you have the European Union coming in, and they are now starting a steady approach to cryptocurrency regulation. So all in all, I think that's a very good thing, because it does show that another group of countries wants to make money in the cryptocurrency space, and once they want to make money, then we're in pretty good shape. So that's my take on that. I now want to get right into part 2 of our discussion with Sean Worthington, the chairman of Radatech, which is the underlying technology of the next generation digital currency. They employ a technology that, in essence, does not use crypto encryption. It uses a unique brand of what I kind of refer to as they shred the coins, send them across the globe. 25 separate nodes verifies the different shreds to make sure it's not fraudulent, it's not counterfeited, and then it unshreds the coin. And also now Celebrium digital collectibles on the other side. And it's a method of making sure that there's no counterfeiting, and it doesn't cost, billions of dollars in energy. It doesn't require minutes or tens of minutes to process. And that's why we're real excited about not only CloudCoin itself, but also Radatech, which is the underlying technology, which is now in use with Celebrium. So, Sean, we were talking about, we were going to address 5 pain points. We've already gone through 2, but there is another product that's coming online. It looks like this year, 2019, which is called Data. But before we get into talking about Data, I wanted to show you this graph. Take a look at this, Sean. This is how the number of data breaches is soaring. Why don't you comment on that and then talk about, data breaches, database theft, and database integrity?
Yeah, I've been working as a system engineer for 20 years, and I kind of thought that the system administrators would get smart enough to figure out how to stop all the hackers and that the hackers would be put out of business sooner or later. But that's just not happening. What we're seeing is the exact opposite, that there's more data out there. There's more breaches. The hackers are more sophisticated. We've even had, it looks like our own CIA got hacked and all their tools got brought into the wild so that everybody else could use them to hack. It's incredible. And we have national hacks, and we've got corporate hacks. And so we definitely have a serious problem with keeping our data secure.
You want to hear one of the biggest hacks, and I don't know how many people are aware of this, but there was a hack done by the Chinese where they hacked into the personnel files of, like, I'm going to say somewhere near 3 to 6 million current and former employees of the U.S. government. So they were able to hack into and these are actually files and data that was clearance information. So when you get a clearance to work for the State Department, Sean, that status is on again. So maybe you want to turn off that mic real quick. Yeah. So basically, what this hack was all about is they hacked into millions and millions and millions of files of background information about federal workers. And these files, these clearances that are done, basically go into some information that is not flattering about the people. They have to go in and find out what's the risk of different people. So now you have the Chinese who have essentially blackmail material on millions and millions of federal workers.
Yeah, that's just really a just unspeakable, serious problem, because they can find somebody that works in some department that they need information out of, and they can call that person up and say, hey, we know about the dirty thing that you did, and we're going to tell everybody unless you give us the information. And they'll certainly find people that'll be willing to cave into that. It's terrible.
And it's happened a lot. I want you to notice one thing, Sean, on that chart. The red part of the column you see is small business and medium-sized business. That's major database breaches and hacks. And you can see that number is starting to go up. How does maybe let's talk about database hacking a little bit more, and then how does Data address that, or how is it planned to be addressed?
Well, database hacking is of course, a major problem, and there's something called script kiddies, and that's where a hacker takes the way that they hack and puts it into a program, and then anybody can use it. Even your 13-year-old kid can use it to hack into bank accounts. And so if there's any kind of vulnerability, it's going to be seized on. Everybody's going to know about it, and we're going to see all these hacks. And we've just whenever there's money and credit cards, it's especially a problem. And of course, if they can steal your identity, then they can try to get credit based on your identity. Nobody knows who owns the money. Nobody knows whose account is what. The banks can't operate. They shut down accounts because they don't know if you're you. They see that you try to buy something, and they think that since you're on vacation, they don't know that you're on vacation, but they think that you're some kind of thief trying to steal the data. And so we have something called an entity relational problem, in which banks just cannot tell who owns what money. They're shutting everything down, and the whole system is very expensive. And I think it's just going to grind to a halt. And any kind of improvement that we have is going to be a big value to society.
And how what in terms of rated data, what's the solution? If you can, a 30 seconds, a minute description of that.
So, if you want to, how do you make something that it's not hackable? Well, we've been using encryption. The problem with encryption is that you have to have this thing called a private key, and the private key is so long that you've got to write it down somewhere. And also, it's possible with quantum computers and with just brute force computers that if you get the file, you can brute force attack it, and you can still hack it even though you don't have the private key. So this is a big issue, and it's all around encryption. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to use another method. Instead of using encryption, we're trying to use basically shredding.
Excellent. So basically, in essence, when people are transporting data, sending data, once again, the data is sent via the shredding process, so there's not exposure there. Is that exposure to important data? Is that kind of the concept?
Yeah, we want to make it so that if somebody hacks into a server and they get all the data is worthless because they've just got a fragment of that data. And so it makes attacking the servers in which this data is stored worthless. That means that they have to come after you. And if I want to steal 14 million social security numbers and all the data about 14 million people, I have to attack 14 million different people. That's what we want to do. And we want to make it so that the core data that protects everything is either in a person's mind or it's in their iris code, which is possible. So, a password is in your mind. We can have a camera that looks into somebody's eye and it tells who they are. We can actually do both. And that's all we think is possible in the future. We think that could create a system that will stop the hack once and for all.
Now, let me ask you this. With the concept of CloudCoin and Celebrium and RAID itself is you take a piece of data, I'm going to say this very simply, and you shred it into pieces. And then it goes over, a distance, a space, and then it's unshredded on the other side. With rated data is the concept you shred the data and that data is shredded. It hasn't been unshredded yet. It's still in a shredded form.
Yeah, with rated data, we're going to shred the data from our computer. We're going to have a backup file. We're going to have a file on our own computer that helps us to restore data in case it's lost. But besides that, it is on the RAIDA, and you upload it and download it and change it, and only you can do that. And if you want to share it, you can share it. But the hacker would have to come onto your computer, steal some files, and then they would have to guess your password and perhaps even guess your iris code. So it's going to be much more difficult.
Okay, got it. Okay, that is fantastic. Okay, so that's the third pain point. Here is a fourth pain point. And remember, this industry is in the hundreds of billions of dollars annually. And I'm going to show you the face of one person that's very in pain. This is the owner of the New York Giants. Now, the New York Giants is a football team. And this guy is not real happy right now. He doesn't look happy. And what is his pain? Well, his pain is that his star quarterback decided or somehow was involved in a case of fraud involving some very, 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 very valuable footballs that he signed. And the New York Giants team somehow didn't do their own due diligence when they found out that Eli Manning, the star quarterback, had some memorabilia scam going on. So the Giants didn't act in a timely basis. So not only did Eli get into the dumpster, he's in the middle of the dumpster fire, the New York Giants got sucked into this giant lawsuit. And that's why the owner of the New York Giants, John Mara, is sitting there, and he doesn't look very happy. So another huge pain point, and this is a huge pain point, if you take a look at people, some of which invest in memorabilia. Many people invest in memorabilia, and we're talking about an industry with an annual size, according to Forbes magazine, of $370 billion. So do that times 10, and you get the idea. This is a pretty big industry with transaction load of somewhere around $4 trillion. If there's 30% fraud, that means a lot of people are being burned alive. So, Sean, that's certainly painful. Can you talk about, A, how we've applied that with Celebrium for digital collectibles, and then what our plans are with putting a really, really, really tiny little technology on actual baseball bats, dresses, shoes, collectible purses, paintings, things like that?
Yeah, this counterfeiting is just awful, and nobody's ever thought that they could figure out a way to create a system that is counterfeit proof, that just ends counterfeiting altogether. And I think that we have a system, and this is going to be a big societal changer. I mean, it's going to stop all the thieves and the ripoffs from being able to get their hooks into everything. And we started it with CloudCoin because you cannot counterfeit cloud coins, and then we extended that into putting the cloud coin into a JPEG image. We could also put it into any kind of digital asset, and we can make it so that you can show that you own that digital image. You can confirm it with ARADA. And next, of course, we're doing it with data, but we're also have it so that we can store the equivalent of the cloud coin into or on a chip, and the chip is going to be in the item. And so as long as we can read and write to the item, read and write data to it, then we can store a cloud coin. Every time somebody checks it to see if it's real, that code changes, and this makes it so that it is completely uneconomical for anyone to want to be in the counterfeiting business. They're not going to be able to make any money. The risks will be way too high for them to do this.
And so to understand this, let's say we already, I think everybody understands we're already doing that with Celebrium Collectibles. And by the way, the next post for Jenny McCarthy is coming up, and we'll notify everybody of that. But with a physical collectible, the concept here is that the celebrities would have 100 footballs. The footballs would have the special little chip, which people don't even know the hell it's there, or even if you knew it's there, you it'd be pretty tough to find it. But the point is that you have a football, and then a person who wants to purchase the RADA protected football would download an app, and they purchase the football, and they could literally, with the app on the phone, be able to wave it over the football, and it would identify that as a true, authentic football. Is that essentially? I know I try to simplify these things because I'm a kind of a simple guy, but is that essentially how that would work?
That's right. And so you've got this football, you run your cell phone over it, and a picture of that item comes up. It tells you who made it. You could have some other information about when it was sold, and that information is there forever. It never changes. And so while you could change the ownership of the football, you could never delete that information.
Okay. So that's your fourth pain point, and that is the pain point of tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars worth of fraudulent memorabilia sold every year. That's a lot of money, folks. The next, and this may be the worst pain point of all, I think, potentially, and that is this. Right now, there is a site that allowed creators in the past to raise money for their different creative things, TV shows, movies, web videos. People were raising money, crowdfunding on Patreon. But then all of a sudden, like it's been happening again and again and again on different social platforms, because somebody wasn't thinking the right way, air quotes, the right way. And I'm not here to say what's right. I'm just saying any type of political blackmail or political terrorism, I think is ridiculous. And I think it's highly unethical. It certainly verges on illegal in many countries. But the point is free speech is under attack, and sites like Patreon that were raising money for anybody all of a sudden are now deplatforming people and kicking people off. And this is happening over and over and over again. So could we talk about Patreon specifically, Sean? Because I know that's something you've had a lot of concern about.
Yeah, this is something that's quite amazing. And I will tell you that when CloudCoin started a couple years ago, we were partners with PayPal. And we were partners with a banking site called Stripe, which is the biggest payment processor, I think, on the internet. And we had lots of bank accounts. And we had we worked with Western Union. And then suddenly these partners started to not want to do business with us anymore. Started with PayPal, then it went to Stripe, and then it went to Western Union, and then I think we've had about 3 or 4 banks that we've started that have decided that they don't want to do business with us. And so this is something that CloudCoin has experienced, but now we've seen it in other realms, such as it started, I think, with Alex Jones, in which he was kicked off of Twitter and all of these different providers such as YouTube, all pretty much on the same day. And it's definitely a conspiracy. There's definitely something going on here. Patreon funds these creative people, such as Jordan B. Peterson, and like you're looking at there, Dave Rubin, and several other very scholarly, brilliant folks, and they are basically telling it as it is. They're telling the truth. They're philosophers, and they're being kicked off of these platforms. The Patreon is a real threat because it seems that behind the scenes there's banks that are threatening Patreon, at least that's what I think, that are threatening Patreon, saying, hey, if you don't kick this guy off, then we're going to stop allowing you to take payments through our system. And so we're talking about MasterCard, we're talking about Visa, we're talking about other payment systems, and who's controlling these? And I have heard that there might be the United States Treasury Department, but either way, we've got a big problem here. And the problem is that we need to be able to quickly convert digital currency like CloudCoin into fiat money like dollars. And we did a study in Venezuela, so we did some hard science trying to figure out, hey, how can we get people to want to adopt CloudCoin as a currency? And we found out that it's all about liquidity. That means, I mean, there's more to it than just that. But the key step that we need to do is make it so that people can take their cloud coins and turn them into dollars and vice versa. This is where the governments and the banks and the PayPal and everybody else seems to be trying to inject themselves and stop that from happening. And to counter this, I've got a lot of ideas on how we can do it. But this is definitely something that if we can solve this, it's going to be a huge benefit to everybody.
And now with Patreon itself, I believe the solution we've been talking about, and you actually reached out to some of the folks. I think I don't know if you reached out directly to Patreon. I don't think you did. I think you reached out to some folks that are trying to raise money using crowdfunding, that we've been thinking about using a Celebrium-like Ratatech-based item, which is a valuable that could be used to raise funds. Is that am I near what your concept was?
That's correct. And so the idea is that a celebrity such as Jordan B. Peterson or Alex Jones could go to the Celebrium website. They'd probably best if they called. They could set up an account and they could set up some Celebrium, and then their users would be able to buy the Celebrium, or the people that support them would be able to buy them, and then of course proceeds would go to the celebrity, and that would be a way that they could fund it. Now, the only problem with that is it's possible that the banks could come along and try to do the same thing. But there is a difference, and that is that since these are collectibles, it's quite a big difference between giving money.
Exactly, and
there's a whole different legal system.
I think you're exactly right, because once again, the collectible area, there's that static again, Sean. The collectible world is a product. It's not a commodity. It's a product. People can, they can make a bunch of paintings, and then they can reproduce the paintings into form of limited edition prints, and they can sell those prints. And that is what one does with collectibles. The unique thing with Celebrium is people can buy, sell Celebrium, but then once the limited number is sold, then you can't buy them anymore, but you can trade them, and that's where there's going to be some potential value growth. So.
And by the way, I did reach out to a celebrity, and she said she's interested. She wants to hear all about it. I don't have I probably should have put more time into that because I've been worried about technology.
Yeah, but, that's what you should do.
Yeah. But she's so I think that the celebrities definitely, it's a pain point for them, and we need to come up with just a sheet or something that explains it.
That's fantastic. Well, once again, folks, I want these are different applications. I wanted people to understand, what are we doing with this Radatech? How are we using it? I think you've got an idea of now what we're thinking about, what we're developing with Radadata, with Radachat, with the applications of Rada to secure documents, how to secure data by shredding the data, leaving it in a shredded form, and only when you want to get the data back, you unshred it. So essentially, you're safeguarding the data by, having, I'm sure everybody's shredded paper before, and what it looks like. Imagine if all those shredded pieces weren't in a wastebasket, but were sitting all over the world. One shred here, one shred there, one shred here, one shred there. Tough stuff. So, Sean, I want to thank you for doing our briefing. I'm now going to talk about a major event that Sean is going to be one of the mentors at. Would you like me to talk about that a little bit, Sean?
Sounds very good.
Okay. So I touched on this last week, and we've been looking at, how can we benefit a lot of different people. How can we benefit people involved with DFM, with Radatech, with our listeners here on our webinar? And one thing that we've been finding out over and over, we have a lot of people within our group that are business owners, that are people that are involved with startups, people who are involved with organizations that they're trying to raise money for. Basically, there's a lot of people in our group that have substantial businesses, medium-sized businesses, startup businesses. They want to get in business. And we said to ourselves, how can we take this to the next level? Not necessarily just for our digital frontier marketing friends or our Radatech friends, but I'm talking to you guys first, because you guys here in this webinar and also the people who are going to be listening to this recording later have been such big friends of ours. They've been supporters of ours, and so we wanted to give you guys the first heads up on a series of events that we're going to be doing starting here in the Tampa Bay area. And the nature and the purpose of these events are simple. We want to help business owners, startups, organizational owners, individuals who have expansion plans to get to those plans and succeed at those plans at an accelerated basis. We want to help people really grow their business, grow, and expand. And I took a look at all the different resources or relationships we have, Sean being one of them, and said, well, what could we do? Well, we also did some surveying. We asked people if we could do, if we could do one of these different things, what would you want? And we had a lot of people surveyed over the last 7 days. And essentially, at the end of the day, what people said to us, what they said, when I have expanded the fastest, when I have succeeded the most, one of two things happen. Either they got the right contact, and that contact, whether it was a mentor, a business associate, somebody, suddenly supercharged them. The right contact made them a lot of extra business, helped them connect with another person and helped them make a lot of money. Essentially is what I'm saying is people had met the right person at the right time. So contacts are a big part of how people have expanded in the past. The other thing was the correct piece of information. Sometimes it only requires one piece of information, one trade secret, one successful action. If one knew about it, could explode their business, start them on their startup, help their organization, whether it's a profit or a nonprofit. In other words, I'm saying knowledge. And there's this old, piece of data out there that to a lot of people, still to this day think is true. I'll just say what it says. It says the datum is it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, I take umbrage with that. I believe it's both. It's what you know and who you know. And if somehow we could help our friends, help people accelerate dramatically the number of contacts, not just the number of contacts, but the quality of contacts, and provide them valuable information and do it in a very intense way over a 2-day period, a period where essentially great contacts are made, literally deals are cut right at this weekend, and knowledge is gained, that would be a good thing. So I reached out to one of the people that I know that I've done a lot of different things with. This individual is credited with over $5 billion of sales. He's credited with setting up and helping run successfully over 100 companies, 500 products. He's the guy who developed the infomercial. He's the chairman of As Seen on TV. He was the spokesman for Invent Help. He was part of the Angel Network. His name is Kevin Harrington, one of the original Shark Tank inventors and investors, I should say. And there is nobody I have ever seen that has a Rolodex of contacts like Kevin Harrington. It is unbelievable. I'll sit with him for 5 minutes. Somebody will call saying, hey, I need this. And within 30 seconds or 60 seconds, Kevin is on the phone with the right person and connecting them up. He's a really great guy regarding that. And so I contacted Kevin about let's start a series of weekend, really Friday and Saturday events where we get a collection of business superstars that are experts in investment, angel fundraising, entertainment, video movie production, product development, product branding, digital marketing, traditional marketing, and get these people in one space and then take a special group of 40 people, and over a 2-day period, take the secrets. Each of these super mentors take one secret that boomed their business, teach everybody the secret, have a question and answer period, and literally drill how to use the data so that a person, they know the data, they've asked questions and have question and answer about the data, and then they've been drilled on how do you apply the data, and have 8 of these superstars on each of these areas. I can tell you the cat that we're bringing in on the investment front, this guy's been involved in so many success stories, I can't even count them all. We have one gentleman coming in who is a major business guy who's from China that has set up so many different manufacturing deals, saving people a fortune, and he's a really honest businessman. We have industry experts, as I said, in product development from the front to the back. So this weekend, which we call the Expansion Acceleration Weekend, is going to be done on March 22nd and 23rd, and we're going to have 40 people who will be part of this, who we will be able to work with intensively. And on top of that, Kevin Harrington is going to do a special video with each of these people. In this video, which he calls the perfect pitch, basically he helps each person develop the exact perfect pitch that can be used in fundraising, business sales, you name it. By the way, he had, I won't even tell you about that. I was going to talk about a president that Kevin had helped with the perfect pitch. But, I won't even get there. But the point is that part of what this weekend is about is to have each and every participant be able to do this incredibly important video with Kevin. So it's effectively an endorsement video that can be used in anything you can think of in terms of raising capital, promoting your company, promoting your organization. And Sean Worthington is going to be one of the speakers who will be talking about different ways that digital currency and the RADA tech can help each and every business. So I wanted to tell you guys first, we're actually announcing this in a broad way to a whole pile of people tomorrow. I have many different databases, a big announcement, but I wanted to tell you guys about that tonight. A lot of you helped us on a survey, and if you are interested in being receiving the pack of information regarding this, you can email me. I know we had a bunch of people surveyed, and you all already told me that you want us to contact you right away first to get this pack of information. We are going to be sending it out tomorrow. If you have not indicated your interest or been surveyed and you want to get this pack of information we're sending out tomorrow, you can email me at bob@digitalcurrencygrowth.com and use the subject line EA Weekend. EA Weekend. And I'll be happy to get this information out to you. But once again, we're going to give, what's interesting here is several of these huge mentors are also coming to learn about the applications of RADA to their own businesses, which is very interesting. Actually, 3 big ones. So it's going to be one hell of a weekend. And then Kevin is going to be there, and we're looking to help people get deals at that event. Strategic distribution deals, marketing deals, sales deals, you name it. The whole thing is about accelerating the number of contacts a person has, accelerating and increasing the knowledge a person has, and making sure that they actually have the knowledge and can use it. So that's what we're doing there. If you're interested in that, it's email me at bob@digitalcurrencygrowth.com. For the first 20 people, we're doing something extra special for the first 20. So if you're interested, make sure you let me know. We are going to help out with a very interesting additional benefit for those first 20. But that's great. Okay, let's go ahead and do our drawing, which is for 5,000 cloud coins. Here we go. I'm going to use random. I like this little site, random.org. It's fantastic. If you ever want to do a drawing and you don't want to use a bunch of pieces of paper like the first time I did this, use random.org and you can do it. So let me get this up and get us started. We're going to do our big drawing. Here we go. Last week was number 60, and this week it is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. Ooh, number 4. Whoever got here and was the 4th person in is the winner of 5,000 cloud coins. Okay, well, listen, I want to thank you for attending our event. Once again, if you want to get the information about the expansion acceleration weekend, you email me at bob@digitalcurrencygrowth.com. If you have friends who you think this would help out, business associates, let them know. We can help them as well. Okay, folks, well, thank you very much for attending our webinar. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Sean, for attending as well.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
You got it.